We say good morning to Joe diGenova, legal analyst, former U.S. attorney to the District of Columbia. Joe, there's nothing to talk to you about this morning, so I just don't know what we're going to do here. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning.
Before we get into all of this just craziness with Kavanaugh, I just want to know, what is the drop-dead date for him to get him confirmed by October 1st? When does all the nonsense have to be over and done with in order to meet that deadline?
Well, they gotta get him out of committee right away, which means they're going to have a vote either the day of the hearing or immediately thereafter. The truth is that the majority leader, McConnell, can do anything he wants. They can, suspend the rules. They're just going to have to plug it through. This should have been done and on its way to the floor, but it's been delayed, obviously, by these tactics. But they've got to move fast. They have to do it right away. In fact, they're going to have to take a vote in committee, regardless of these latest allegations, which are clearly designed to create a fog screen for the Democrats so they can demand an FBI investigation. The Republicans have to do something that they're just not capable of generally, which is man up, take a vote. And, we know that Jeff Flake has already told them he's going to vote present in the committee. He's not going to vote for the nomination, so it will be sent to the floor, split 10-10 with one present. That vote is irrelevant. What matters is what happens on the floor, and do they keep Collins? I don't have any problem with Murkowski. She's not going anywhere. Susan Collins is so weird and goofy. I assume they're going to keep her. If they keep her, then it's 50-50, and the vice president confirms him.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know before we go in. All right, let's talk about these new allegations. You've got this new woman who says that she now has a memory from Yale University, and now Michael Avenatti jumped in the fray now with allegations against Michael Judge as well. Mark Judge as well, that involved drugging women and raping them. Well,
as I said, this is all a fog screen, and the Republicans are just going to... It doesn't matter what these allegations are. They're all... Whatever they are, they are. And this is either going to be a vote yes or no for him in committee and to the floor. And the Democrats are going to scream and yell. You're going to have all kinds of problems, but the bottom line is very simple. If Brett Kavanaugh is not confirmed for the United States Supreme Court, the Republicans will lose the Senate. Their base will stay home. This is a test. They've already failed the test on the president. They've been remarkably incompetent about defending the president against what was obviously a criminal conspiracy to falsely accuse him of crimes both before, during, and after the campaign. In light of the latest Rosenstein revelations, it's fairly obvious how incompetent... And by the way, let me just say one thing. Trey Gowdy is an idiot. Trey Gowdy is so incompetent. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what he wants out of life. I don't know what he hopes to gain or what his goal is. But I have never seen a more feckless, unbelievably dumb performance by a member of the House or Senate. But all of that said, if they don't confirm Kavanaugh, it's over. They lose the Senate. That's what this is about. It's about getting him on the Supreme Court and keeping the Senate. The base is furious with the management of the House and the Senate by the Republicans. They are lucky they are all still standing and can get to their offices.
You mentioned the seeds of this Russia hunt. I want to ask you, this Russia investigation, I want to ask you about this declassification shift by the President of the United States in the past week. On Monday, he announces he's set to declassify documents from the Justice Department involving the Pfizer warrant application and text messages of all of the characters who are involved here. And all of a sudden now, he's decided to reverse course a bit, giving the Inspector General some time to review that documentation. What do you make of the shift by the president? And you mentioned Trey Gowdy as a part of this. I imagine that's one of the reasons you're upset.
The president is gaming people right now. He's giving them rope to hang themselves. The person who briefed him on the declassification included Rosenstein. That was before the New York Times article. It is safe to say that Jeff Sessions has to fire Rosenstein. It's not the president's job. By the way, this all relates to declassification, so just bear with me.
Okay.
There is a game being played right now. It's called survival. And the question for Rosenstein and declassification was, we already know what's in these documents. We already know who the names are. These claims by foreign governments that they want to protect their sources is nonsense. That's all Rosenstein's game to prevent disclosure, because what has happened is we now know from the New York Times article, notwithstanding that it was printed to help Rod Rosenstein, the bottom line is it destroys him, because what it does is, for the people who are investigating the corruption in the Department of Justice, they now know that Rosenstein purposely signed a false FISA fourth extension of the Carter Page warrant. Mr. Rosenstein is now looking at not only a possible inclusion in a criminal conspiracy to obstruct the court and to frame the President of the United States and to frame Carter Page. Mr. Rosenstein is at the center of that now. He cannot stay at the department. He has already been forced to recuse himself from all FISA applications. Just listen to this. The Deputy Attorney General of the United States has been told that because of his involvement in the Carter Page FISA, he can no longer participate in any FISA of any kind, any application. He is dead meat. He is gone. And if Sessions Sessions can actually save his job, believe it or not, after all Sessions has been through. If he demands Rod Rosenstein's resignation, he will show the president that he has a command presence, and notwithstanding his short stature, he can be a big boy. If he doesn't fire Rosenstein, he is also dead meat. This is an amazing period in American history. You are watching a criminal conspiracy by senior Justice Department officials of two administrations try to destroy a president of the United States. And Trump has got them right where he wants them. The reason the declassification has been put off is to give people rope to hang themselves.
Explain that. What does that mean? More time for them to express things in public that'll be proven false?
No. They are maneuvering now to keep this secret. Rosenstein is at the head of that march of people to keep stuff secret. The president knows what's going on. They understand at the White House that this is a joke, that this nonsense. He's allowing the process to play out because the president wants to look reasonable and confident. He's listening to our allies. He knows the allies' complaints are nonsense. By the way, it isn't clear that the president has directly spoken with any foreign leader. What is clear is that some people in the Justice Department have spoken with their counterparts in MI6 who are either there or have left MI6. The UK is at the center of the conspiracy to frame Donald Trump and Carter Page and George Papadopoulos. This is all about Mifsud and protecting Halper and Downer. Downer is a big fish. And all of the work that all of them did with GCHQ, which is the head intelligence operation out of the UK. This is a huge, huge problem for the UK. Yep. Now, they may ultimately say, look, you can talk about Steele, but please don't talk about Downer. They are very worried about the role that Downer played in all of this.
Okay, more on this with Joe diGenova in a moment. Joe, we're going to ask you for more on this and also how this is all connected to that New York Times story about the idea that Rod Rosenstein wanted to wear a wire and record the President of the United States. All of that in a second.
If you're just joining us, we're joined by Joe diGenova, legal analyst, former U.S. Attorney to the District of Columbia. Joe, you say the president pulling back on declassification ties in with Rod Rosenstein. Does it tie in with the story in the New York Times that came out this weekend that Rod Rosenstein toyed with the idea of wearing a wire in order to trap the president into a 25th Amendment situation?
Yes, well, let me commend to everyone an article by Andy McCarthy in National Review Online. Last night, came out at 7:55, and it's called Rod Rosenstein's Resistance. It is a brilliant piece. I commend it to everyone who cares about the Republic. Read it. It destroys Rod Rosenstein. It begins by saying, even in his weasel words to explain his weasel activities, Rosenstein cannot contain himself. The New York Times article was supposed to help Rod Rosenstein. In fact, it was a stiletto to his heart. Rosenstein is too slick by half. He engaged in making sure that story got printed so it would make him look good. That was his salve to the Democrats to show them that he, too, wanted to take down the president. And then he gave this non-denial denial, one of the most disgraceful performances. You're probably wondering, how can the president control himself and not remove Rosenstein? The president is pretty smart. He knows that Rosenstein has committed so many sins, so many things that he's done since he's been there, beginning after having been only on the job a couple of weeks as Deputy Attorney General. He determines that he's been abused by asking to write a memo which will be used to fire James Comey. To read Andy McCarthy's article today, when you go and you get the chronology of events surrounding the, and I believe, almost treasonous activity of Rosenstein, it makes you want to grab Rosenstein by the scruff of the neck and throw him out of a 7th floor window, defenestration at the Department of Justice. You cannot imagine what Rosenstein and Comey have done to the DOJ and the FBI. Forget Sally Yates and those people. Rosenstein is supposed to be the Republicans' guy. He's not. He's an agent in place at the top of the Justice Department. The president knows it, and, you know, I just said Sessions can save his job, but he's so clueless and feckless and dumb that I don't think Jeff Sessions even understands why he has to demand Rosenstein's resignation. This is incredible what you're watching. This is a republic at risk because of people like Rosenstein.
What do you make of the claim that this New York Times piece was built to entrap the president into firing him as a pretext for an obstruction case?
Absolutely correct. That is absolutely correct. It was designed to get the president to fire Rosenstein when, in fact, that job should be done by Jeff Sessions. This president should not have to fire Rosenstein. Now, just think of this, though. You're at the Department of Justice this morning. It's Monday. You're in there at 9 o'clock. If you're a really good AG, you're in there at 6 a.m. You want to see everything that's going on. Sessions is probably still asleep while we're talking. He doesn't listen to anything or anybody. He has no idea what's going on. He's at Rotary Club speeches talking about immigration. But today, if you're the Attorney General of the United States and you walk into that building and what the president called a stench, that is the presence of Rod Rosenstein there. What do you do as AG if you have any self-respect? You demand his resignation. If he doesn't have his resignation by 5 o'clock today, then Sessions is gone. It's over. If he gets his resignation, he has a chance to stay. Just put yourself in his position. You're two intellectual people, you and Mary, sitting there. What would you do if you were Jeff Sessions? You would get Rosenstein out of that building so fast, he'd have to get the marshals to carry him out.
Doesn't the left spin that, though, that this was Trump ordered Sessions to fire Rosenstein?
What makes you think they're not going to spin anything? This is over. You can't worry about the left. You do the right thing. They're in this position because Sessions is an idiot and Rosenstein is a crook. You cannot allow this to continue. The Department of Justice is being destroyed by an idiot in Jeff Sessions and a crook, Rod Rosenstein. If Sessions doesn't get this, he really deserves to be removed right after the election.
Now, you mentioned this idea that Rod Rosenstein was intimately involved in planting this story with the New York Times. What of the theory that Andrew McCabe was the guy who ended up planting this thing specifically to try and get Rosenstein fired and hurt Trump at the same time?
I don't think there's any doubt that McCabe's people, I don't know if McCabe personally was involved. I would doubt that sincerely. But remember, a number of people have the McCabe memos. There are people all over the government that have the McCabe memos. There are other FBI people, both in and out of government, who have those memos. So who knows who gave them the McCabe memos? I'm delighted that they did. This is a wonderful development, by the way. I don't care whether it helps McCabe or not. McCabe is the least important part of this story right now. The most important part of this story is Rosenstein. He is a cancer at the center of this presidency. Whatever John Dean thought about cancers on the presidency, Rod Rosenstein is a cancer on the presidency. And Sessions has to see that. We are watching history before our eyes evolve. Some people are capable, when historic events occur, of stepping up and doing the right thing. This is a test for the little man from Alabama. Can he pass the test?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to find out. Joe diGenova, thank you so much. And by the way, we were at the Free Speech Forum Saturday night, and a lot of people could not wait to hear what you had to say about all this morning.
Oh, I hope you guys had a good time there.
So you were talked about if your ears were ringing. It was all good, though. Joe, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.